Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. In today's video we are back with another monster hunt, and this one is going to be the entire hunt from start to finish. I know in some of my previous gameplays, like the hunt against TOBI-KADACHI or PUKEI-PUKEI, I cut together a few different clips, mainly because the overall hunt was slightly longer and I need to try and keep these to a certain length. But this one, luckily I do most of my damage in this area you see here, and then we move a little bit further north, but the overall hunt doesn't take quite as long. This is a quest you encounter slightly earlier in the game, so it's not quite as challenging as some of the later ones. But either way, it should still make for some cool gameplay. You guys get a chance to see a brand new monster. This is the Jyuratodus, a member of the Piscine Wyvern family. It is the same family that plays home to the likes of Plesioth, Cephadrome, and also, most notably, Levasioth. I say that because this is probably the closest link to Jyuratodus. In fact, in the Wild Spy Waste trailer when it first came out and we didn't have a name for this monster, we tentatively called it the Mud Levasioth because that's essentially what it is. Now, for those of you guys that are new to Monster Hunter, those are the monsters I named. They're not confirmed for Monster Hunter World, they are just monsters from previous titles. In fact, I wouldn't be sad at all if Plesioth never makes a return because I absolutely hate that monster. I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, but either way, they're just things within the Piscine Wyvern family. However, focus for today is of course on Jyuratodus. I'm going to show you guys the gameplay and just talk to you a little bit about the monster, some of the other things you might want to know. So if you do enjoy this, you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated. Any questions, drop them down below. I will say this is more Charge Blade gameplay. I know some of you guys asked if there was going to be any weapon variety. If you guys want to see different weapons, I would highly recommend you go back and check out my Gamescom coverage. When I was in Osaka, obviously the focus initially on the first day of playing was to progress through the story, and people play Monster Hunter in different ways. I know some people will, get their variety going very early on. I, for one, have always been someone that picks a weapon to basically focus on the Golden Lion. So in this instance, I was like, I'm going to use Charge Blade, I'm going to go through all the quests that I'm allowed to play while I'm here, and then once I've done that, then I will start branching out and using other things. So this is my first hunt against Jyuratodus. I'm actually kind of pleased with sort of how it turned out. Got quite a few good KOs on him, both in this area and in the next area. In fact, there will be another monster that makes an appearance during this hunt. I won't say which one just yet, so you guys can see that one. Maybe you can guess what it is and comment down below. But main things to note about Jyuratodus. So it is, as mentioned, Piscine Wyvern. It uses mud to capture its prey. Now, if you guys have played previous Monster Hunter games and you've encountered something like Barroth, then you may well be familiar with, when it shakes mud and you get the sort of muddy snowman effect. It's different in Monster Hunter World. Now you'll actually get these big gloopy pools of mud that appear on the floor. You'll see some during this gameplay a little bit later, and I'd say they're a little bit more threatening in some ways because when you get stuck in them, they really do slow you down. Like if you go to do like a Superman dive out of one of them, then one single dive won't quite get you out of the mud pool. So if you were being charged at by something like a Barroth, or in this case by a Jyuratodus, and you're in one of those muddy pools, they are actually quite dangerous. So definitely something you need to watch out for, whether you're fighting Jyura or whether you are fighting Barroth. Speaking of Barroth as well, Barroth and Jyuratodus do fight over their territory. If you are in a swampy area, then Jyuratodus is definitely going to be the sort of dominant predator in that situation, as I say. You can sometimes take advantage of that. If you are fighting a Barroth and it's getting weaker, it will often retreat to the swampy area so it can roll around and cover itself in mud. Not this area. There's a different swampy area a little bit further up in the map. We'll actually see that a little bit later. So that's something to consider, because if it does go there and it is weaker, you can sometimes get Jyura to come out the ground and they will then fight out. And in that situation, Jyuratodus is the dominant predator in a swamp in the water, so it will of course take advantage of that and dish out some nasty damage to Barroth. So something to consider. Also on the topic of Barroth covering itself in mud, Jyuratodus does a similar kind of thing. It collects this mud on its body to act as a sort of armor, and then as you're fighting it, you can break it off. A couple of things to note: you can also use your slinger to additionally break off this armor, and water-type weapons are pretty effective at shedding mud on monsters. Jyuratodus is a monster that will allow you to craft a water-type weapon, so that in itself, you can sort of use itself against it, so it's kind of handy, something to think about. Speaking of the monster that turns up, we now have Rathian showing up, so I'll leave you guys with just a little bit of gameplay first, and then we'll pick up in just a minute to speak a bit more about the hunt. to say that, you know, being effectively a fish, the land is definitely the place that the Jyuratodus is the weakest. So if you guys are having a hard time fighting it in somewhere like the swamp, then you can definitely, you know, try and sort of get the upper hand if you can lead it to an area like this where there is considerably less water, and it's definitely not in a position where it can always... I mean, I appreciate in this situation it is getting kind of battered by the Rathian, so it's not like I'm, you know, the one causing the trouble here, but it's definitely something to consider with Jyuratodus. If there is considerably less water and it is effectively fighting on land, then it isn't in a place that it feels most comfortable. So again, if you are finding that in the water, I mean, there is actually a mantle you can put on the water. I forget what it's called, the exact name, but it's basically a mantle that allows you to move slightly more fluidly in the water, so you don't get quite so slowed down. But yeah, if you're finding that in the typical swampy area, the natural habitat for the Jyuratodus, if you're struggling there, then this is definitely something to consider. You know, you can throw on a challenger mantle, you could lead it up to somewhere like this, either to lead it into a monster or just to lead it into a place that you would prefer to fight it. Another KO there as well. This has been a rather interesting one. I think Jyuratodus is probably one of those monsters that is quite susceptible to KO. Do bear in mind that for those of you guys that are new to it, then the KO threshold, you know, gets bigger every single time. So after you land your first KO, it'll take you a little bit longer to get to your next one, but still something to keep in mind. Also, the Jyuratodus just got poisoned there because, of course, the Rathian has a poisonous tail, and they can now, inflict those abnormal statuses on other monsters if they're fighting. So we saw in the Rotten Vale gameplay the other day that the Gyros and the Great Gyros can paralyze the Ordogaron, and now in this situation we've seen the Rathian actually finally use that tail against someone that isn't just us, the hunters. However, now Jyuratodus is on its last legs. It's going towards this other swampy area here. This is the area I spoke about earlier, where if you get a Barroth weak, it'll typically try and go here because it can then roll around, you know, recollect the muddy armor on its body. So this is that situation, or this is that area where you could effectively pair Barroth and Jyuratodus together to get them to fight as well. But he's basically on his last legs. This is basically the end of the hunt. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the gameplay. If you guys have any questions, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. Of course, keep it locked because there is still plenty more Monster Hunter World coverage coming your way. And we're also not that far away from the beta now. Super exciting. I cannot wait for you guys to have a chance to play the game. Yes, it might only be 3 days. And yes, I appreciate it's only on PS4. But still, for some of you guys to at least get a chance to play the game, it's going to be really, really exciting. But for the time being, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.